오늘은 미국 대학교 입시 전문가 벤 닉홀슨 씨를 모시고 함께 미국 대학 입학에 대해서 알아보도록 하겠습니다. Hi Ben, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
So why do you think that it's very popular among international students?
So the United States, there are lots of reasons for why students would want to study there. I think from the parents and students' perspective, obviously the schools, they have a strong name, they have a lot of history, and the US generally has a reputation. But to really understand why that is, a company like Apple, what makes it successful? A lot of people answer, well, it's got great technology, it's very innovative. Both of these are true, is because they have a strong design and art elements in the program. So the products themselves are a mixture of disciplines, and really that's what American education is as well. It's interdisciplinary. So students, when they study engineering, they also study things like design, and art, and various majors you can minor in as well. So
how many percentage of US students actually study interdisciplinary majors?
So there are very few non-interdisciplinary practices in the US. I met a student the other day who was a UChicago freshman student, and he opened up by saying, I am an engineer and I'm also an artist. We've seen students who do business studies along with theatre and dance. This kind of thing is very possible and very popular. So to encourage innovation, to encourage creativity, to encourage yourself to explore and really work out what your passions are. And that's why I believe that students should be thinking about the US. The world is becoming a very competitive environment. Employment opportunities are now global. So think about how the school will encourage you to do this. This has nothing to do with ranking.
Actually, that was my next question. I was going to ask you about the ranking. How important should the ranking be when students choose universities? But you just answered the whole questions.
And every major ranking company out there has repeatedly said, including, say, for example, US News, they've repeatedly said that the rankings are not meant as a one-size-fits-all tool for you to choose your school. I can give you an example. A school in the United States called Suffolk, which is ranked between 200 and 300 in that region. So the 200s might not be kind of the premier area of the ranking for a lot of students. They have a total enrollment of about 5,000. There are over 20 full-time careers advisors. Now, I've seen public schools in the US where they have less than 10 careers advisors for 50,000 students.
So what's the percentage of employment rate of that school after graduation?
Oh, that school, it's very high. It's well above 95% as a success rate. So my message today is don't focus overly on ranking, please. What major do I want to study? What are the actual skills I would like to cultivate in my education?
Do students really need to attend highly ranked universities if they want to get a job or get an internship?
So my short answer to that question is no. But more than that, American industries don't care as much as they used to. 20 years ago, sure. Nowadays, Silicon Valley has a catchphrase. They say, we don't care if you have a degree, we only care if you can code. So this should say a lot about the skill sets, the degrees, the soft skills, the majors. That's it.
So my next question is, what are the majors that are in high demand in the job market?
What's popular right now in the US, including domestic students, business majors are in very high demand. A lot of people want to go and study a business-related discipline. For American students, that's usually been number one. Domestic students, as are things like social sciences, humanities, engineering and computer science, which are really popular in Asia. So I can ask you a question for a change. If you had to guess, in Silicon Valley in the United States, what percentage of tech workers for all these famous Silicon Valley-based firms, the Apples, the Googles, Alphabets, etc., Americans, what percentage?
70?
It's actually 30%. So actually 70% of Silicon Valley tech workers are foreigners.
And most of them graduated from US institutions?
Oh yes, definitely. And it's mainly being driven by STEM. And ironically, it's mainly being driven by students from Asia. So we're thinking about India, China, Korea, of course, because it's the third largest contributor nation to international students in the US. So it's a great way to go. But actually, I would like students to think a little bit more about what skills they need to develop to be successful in work. We can't all be computer scientists, we can't all be engineers, and that's fine. Recently, there was a survey done by some of the top employers in the US, and they asked them to list the top 10 skills they would like students to be able to show. There was no computer science, there was no AI within this list. Number one was creativity. Number two was complex problem solving, and number three was critical thinking.
What are the ways that Korean students can secure admission applications to one of these prestigious US universities?
Students are obviously able to submit an application directly as they normally would, but for international students, more and more universities in the US have what we call a pathway program. A pathway program will assess the student's academic ability and where they need support will provide that extra support to them for, say, for example, English or academic writing skills. Now, the requirements to get into a pathway program are slightly more flexible, so they'll be lower than the direct entry. So if your GPA is a bit low or your TOEFL score wasn't what you wanted it to be, then you can go in through that route. These programs are very, very strong. And of course, regardless of whether it's direct entry or pathway, students can apply here with EDM and they'll be in safe hands, right? So things like visa support, counseling to help students find the right school for them. This is a great option for students.
네, 오늘 이렇게 벤 니콜슨을 모시고 함께 미국 대학 입시에 대해서 알아보았습니다. 미국 대학교에 관심 있는 많은 분들에게 큰 도움이 되었을 거라 생각합니다. 그럼 저희는 다음에 또 찾아뵙도록 할게요. 감사합니다.